Hey, this is Brian Lane from CrowdScribed, and this is 6.5 Questions with Jeff Goins. Is that Jeffrey Goins?
Jeffrey. It's three syllables.
I was actually asking if your middle name was also Jeffrey.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
What actually is your middle name?
Keith.
Jeffrey Keith Goins. Well, Jeff is the author of Wrecked and The In-Between, which just came out last month, August 2013. Jeff, thanks for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Good to be with you.
Question number one, what are your ideal writing conditions?
Well, I'll tell you what are not my ideal writing conditions. The condition that I'm in right now where I don't have a desk because it's at my office and I'm literally talking to you with my laptop propped to my knee. So I hope this 6.5 questions lasts about 6.5 minutes. Otherwise, I'm going to start feeling the burn. I don't believe in ideal writing conditions. I think the most ideal conditions for me to write in are the ones in which I write something. And I've been in really comfortable conditions with, French press coffee and emotive music and, all kinds of candles and incense burning and gotten nothing done. And I've also, been sitting on the floor as I am now and cranked out a ton of stuff. I think the ideal writing conditions have more to do with an attitude than any sort of conditions. That said, it's nice to be in a quiet place. It's nice to maybe have a little bit of music going. But I've tried to discipline myself to be able to write in any condition because I can always find a reason, even in the best conditions, to procrastinate.
Question number two, you've written two books now, pretty close, maybe like a year and a half apart.
Yeah.
What was the biggest difference for you between the first book and the second?
Well, I think the first book I was just trying to get done, to see if I could do it, which I hear is kind of common. I didn't believe that I could do it, so I wrote it to see if I could do it. And I tried to write the best book that I could, but I didn't know really how to do that. So once, I wrote it, I had a draft, I sent it to the publisher, and then we edited it, and it was done. With the second book, I really tried to take my time to write something great. So I brought in an editor before I sent it to the publisher. I wanted this thing to be great, not, necessarily to sell any more copies or make me any more famous, just because I wanted to create something that I was really proud of. And so with the first book, I probably went through 2 drafts. With the second book, I went through something like 7 different drafts that looked very different from each other. And I learned a lot through each of those drafts, but I just tried to put a lot more work into the project so that I could hopefully be proud with the output. And I was. I mean, it turned out pretty good.
Question number three, you talk about writing all those drafts. I guess when you're putting a book together, you kind of wear some different hats. You wear the hat of first draft, just trying to get the words out. You do have some major edits with your publisher sometimes, and then at the end there's some fine-tuned tweaking. Which of those kind of parts of writing a book gives you the most energy?
I think the beginning and the end. I mean, I think I love starting. I mean, one of the most freeing things to hear was from my editor who said, when I was starting my first book, Wrecked, where do I begin? And he said, wherever you want, wherever you're most excited. If you're really excited about the middle of this book, then start there. And so I think that's exciting. I think most writers kind of empathize with that excitement of starting something new. But then, that kind of wears off and it turns into work. And then at a certain point, you're like, what am I doing this for? And that's when I think it's really exciting to finish it. It can be scary, kind of putting the nail in the coffin, so to speak. But it's also really exciting because as I get to the end of a project, I start to get really excited about the fact that people are going to read this and this might change people's lives or inspire them or something. So I think the beginning and the end is what I really enjoy, and all that stuff in between I could do without.
All right, question number 4. You have done some pretty creative things in terms of marketing your book, putting together bonus packages to get pre-orders. You can tell that you hustled to do that stuff. I'm curious, when you look down the road, hopefully if you would like to write more books and you do that, do you kind of envision a time where, hey, all I got to do is write the book and let the marketing team take care of it, or just the fact that my name is what it is? Or do you think hustling like that is something that you'll always do?
Well, that's a good question. I mean, I think part of me goes, yeah, I'd just love to write it and release it to the world and it would just be epic on its own. But I think in reality, there are things that I do because I have to, not necessarily because I love doing that. So yeah, I look forward to the day when maybe I have to hustle a little bit less, or maybe in different areas, or I have people, who do that sort of thing for me. But I think the thing that I will always love about marketing is the fact that I get to connect directly with my audience, which is really a unique experience in this time of history that authors and writers get to embrace if they want to, which is you can connect with your readers even before you write a book. And I like that, and I want to always continue to do that, to have some connection with my community of readers before I'm writing a book, during I'm writing a book, and even when it launches.
Yeah, that's something at CrowdScribed that we want to see happen as well. We want to see authors connect with readers on the front end as much as possible.
Yeah.
So it's great to hear you say that. Question number 5, what 2 books have had the most influence on you this past year?
Yeah, man, I've read a lot of books this year. It's probably something that I've read more books this year than I probably have in the past couple of years combined. I've been reading a lot of business books. I read, Seth Godin's book, The Icarus Deception. That was a really good book. I read that right before I quit my job, so it really realigned what I wanted to do, which was create art, give a gift to the world, not just, go after money or opportunity, but just try to be generous. So, I mean, that was really influential.
Yeah.
And then I read a book called The E-Myth Revisited, and that's an excellent business book. I've talked to you about it before.
Yeah.
That made me think more as an entrepreneur and less as just an artist who gets to create stuff in a closet and hope the world loves it. I had to think about what I do as a business, and even consider making some investments into what I do so that I can continue doing it.
Question number 6, as someone who does want to develop a career as an author, how do you see the book industry changing, and maybe where do you see it in 3 years, 5 years?
I think you asked me this once before, and I had a really good answer. Now I can't remember what that answer was.
No, listen, your answer last time was terrible. So I'm giving you a chance right now to do a much better job.
Yeah, I think that's a good question. I mean, I certainly think we're seeing the stigma of self-publishing go away. I think we're going to begin to see very notable, legit authors doing crazy things like self-publishing books, and it's not like they're not apologizing about it, and it's not an experiment. Like, this is the best thing that they could do is, basically underwrite the publication of their own book without the aid of a traditional publisher. So I think we're going to see more of that. We're going to see a rise in more legitimate self-publishing. I also think we're going to see interesting ways to use digital tools to package with digital media to package with kind of this 500-year-old technology of writing a book. And if a book is about sharing an idea or spreading a story, then we have this tremendous tool, the internet, that maybe in some ways has been under leveraged. And I think we're going to see savvy authors using tools like this to help spread their messages, engage with an audience, and connect with more people.
Question, you did a great job with that one, by the way.
Thank you very much.
Last question number 7. Average amount of cups of coffee per day?
Well, now that it's my job to get up with our 15-month-old, and he sometimes doesn't really, understand that, the sun needs to rise before we can call it morning, I'd probably 4.
Wow.
Yeah.
Might have a little bit of a problem there. No, I think 4 is fine. It's
good.
It's a little on the heavy side, but I think the 15-month-old gives you a legitimate reason.
I meant 4 carafes of French press coffee.
Well, hey, you can find Jeff online at goinswriter.com, and to connect with readers and authors, find great books, and maybe even publish your own, you can check out CrowdScribed.com. Jeff, thanks so much for your time.
Thank you, Brian.